Good morning, everyone. This glorious Sunday morning, the 6th of June, 2021. Well, I almost jumped over into a whole different century. But 6th of June, 1944. Yeah, it was D-Day. Maybe I'm having a flashback. I don't know. But anyway, I'm very, very happy to be here, and I'm glad that you are with us this morning, and that you enjoy our service. Well, this is Fellowship of Spirit coming to you from Farmington, New Mexico. My name is Ron Holloway, and I'll be your moderator today. We have Travis from California is going to be our main speaker, and I'm sure that his message will be really enlightening and enjoyable. We enjoy and appreciate Travis's messages always. There's not a lot of us, and we just noticed that we have a phenomena that has occurred. This is about our third or fourth meeting that we're actually back in our physical church here on 13th Street in Farmington. And prior to this particular Sunday, we've had more people on Zoom than we had physically present in our sanctuary. So, but today it's just flipped. There are more people here in the church than there are on Zoom. We have 4 people on Zoom, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us here. But the reason that we're few in number, we think, is that people are traveling a lot this time of year, and that they will come back. It's not that the church is dying faster than it was. It's just that people are traveling in the early summer. So that's good. We're happy that you're here. Susan, would you offer us a prayer, please? You're muted. There you go.
Yeah, now I'm here. Okay. Creator, Mother, Father, God, we give thanks for this day and all the great opportunities that it provides for us. We give thanks for the wonderful words of wisdom that Travis will be giving to us, so that we might be able to live more joyous, healthful, and happy lives. We give thanks for each and every one of us, that we can go out and be lights unto the world and show them what it's like to live without fear. For all of these wonderful things, we truly give thanks. Hope.
Thank you, Susan. Margaret's sitting right in front of me, so
You can call me anything, just don't call me late for dinner.
That's what I knew about you. I knew that was your mode of operation. So, yeah, that's not what I want to do.
Statement of faith.
Yeah. So we now read our statement of faith, which says, love produces a flow of energy that I now feel. I love more than ever, and I feel privileged to be here. Love flows from one person to another as we create an atmosphere of holiness, and so it is. Love is the reason we're here. And fear is what we're overcome, because when fear leaves, love fills the void. So now Margaret is going to play us a song. And which one is it?
344. There is joy in my heart.
So tell me if you can see these words properly. Are they right side up and then
upside down.
Now?
There you go.
Yeah,
They're backwards,
they're backwards.
mirror image.
No, that doesn't improve.
No, they're not. They're not mirror image. I can read them fine.
No. Well, I was gonna ask you, which, can
Hold it
you,
upside down to you and it's right to them.
yeah,
Here.
that-
No,
the
turn
ones
it
that
up.
are remote are the ones I'm trying, Lily, tell me, is this right or not?
It's
Upside
upside down,
Now?
and I can read it perfectly right now.
It's fine.
Okay, that's what I
That's
thought.
good.
Okay, so we're not seeing that here. We're seeing it upside down, but you're seeing it correctly.
Yes, we
Okay,
are.
go ahead. Thank you, Steve and Margaret. Next time, what I'd have you to do is to take this over there, because we can hear you better. All right. And I am not sure. Does someone have a spiritual reading for us?
I don't know that it's spiritual, but I have something that I received that's kind of cute, that's indicative of our age.
You want to come forward and present it? So Jerry has our spiritual reading this morning.
I don't know how spiritual it is, it's
Well,
just
Well,
fun.
if it gives you joy and happiness, it's spiritual. There you go.
I just discovered my age group, Seenager, a senior teenager. I have everything that I wanted as a teenager, only 55, 60 years later. I don't have to go to school or work. I get an allowance every month. I have my own pad. I don't have a curfew. I have a driver's license and my own car. I have an ID that gets me into bars and the wine store, and I like the wine store best. The people I hang around with are not scared of getting pregnant. They aren't scared of anything. They have been blessed to live this long. Why be scared? And I don't have acne. Life is good. Also, you will feel much more intelligent after reading this if you are a teenager. Brains of older people are slow because they know so much. People do not decline mentally with age. It just takes them longer to recall facts because they have more information in their brains. Scientists believe this also makes you hard of hearing as it puts pressure on your inner ear. Also, older people often go to another room to get something, and when they're there, they stand there wondering what they came for. It's not a memory problem. It's nature's way of making older people get more exercise. So there, I have more friends I should send this to, but right now I can't remember their names. So please forward this to your friends.
That was really good. Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. I enjoyed that. And I guess that's what it is. I'm not thinking slow. I just have a bigger database I have to search through. All right. Travis attended a Church of Religious Science for the first time in Durango, Colorado in 1986. There he took Science of Mind 1 and a guidance, what is CRS?
Church of Religious Science.
Church of Religious Science in LA. Science of Mind 2, on May 1, 1991, Travis arrived in Moscow, Russia, and became the first and only outreach ministry worker for the Soviet American New Thought Initiative, subsequently the UCRS, to live in the Soviet Union, while many followed after the breakup of the USSR. He oversaw the first translations of Science of Mind literature into Russian. He organized the first international New Thought conference in the former Soviet Union in St. Petersburg on October 1991. After taking Practitioner 1 at Guidance, Travis began teaching accredited classes in the former Soviet Union while studying and completing Practical 2 remotely. After 6 years of outreach ministry between 1991 and 2002, 11 years, he returned to Long Beach, California, and since then has served at Namaste Church of Religious Science, Guidance, and Reverend Patricia King Center for Inspirational Living, and lastly, Seal Beach Church of what? CSL. What's CSL?
Well, now they've changed it to Centers for Spiritual Living.
Okay, Centers for Spiritual Living. He abbreviated a lot of stuff, and I'm trying to interpret those. It's okay. He has facilitated book study groups using Eckhart Tolle's book several times, and occasionally serves as a guest speaker on Sunday. Twice monthly, he hosts the Seal Beach International Heart of Peace Meditation. He is committed to creating a world that works for everyone. Let us welcome Travis.
Well, thank you, Ron. And you can be assured that I recognize it would not be wise to abbreviate Eckhart Tolle ET. That's already taken.
Yeah.
So I'll begin as usual by saying that there is but one divine will, and that is for the divine presence or God to fully express itself at every point in the universe, and you and I and everyone else are one of those points. And so now, as I get into our message, this message came about a couple of weeks ago when I was leading the book study club with Living the Science of Mind, and I read the following by Ernest Holmes. It is self-evident that we exist because we experience existence. Okay, now that I can catch. However, he goes on. It is self-evident that an infinite mind exists since we can think. It is self-evident that this mind is a unity since as individuals we recognize each other. It is self-evident that we can commune with this infinite mind since we can commune with each other. And so those last three statements are the type of statements that he calls self-evident that I have to think about and wonder what is wrong with me that that which is self-evident I don't easily grasp it. I ran into, right after the book club, into Reverend Nicole von Adsiken upstairs and asked her if she was amused by Ernest Holmes' tendency to broadly proclaim ideas to be self-evident. And I gathered that the answer was affirmative as she chuckled. Over the years, I have encountered such proclamations and thought, I didn't know that, or I never thought of that, and wondered how self-evident is this if it's taken me a while to ponder it and get it. So that's very nice for so much to be self-evident to Ernest Holmes, but it is that which is self-evident to me, which is of value. And I thought I'd play with this idea of things self-evident and see how much I might share with you as far as things self-evident, and go on a little bit of a journey and look into the value of some of these self-evident truths. But for me personally, the first relevant item that was self-evident was that at the age of 19, I, after being born into the Baptist church, it became self-evident that it was time to walk away. And the reason was that after all that time, I was not able to sincerely or truthfully state God is. And, you know, wow, if you're there to worship God and after that much time you cannot say God is and know that it is true, something is amiss. So I walked away and I was a churchless agnostic for several years. And about 10 or 12 years later, I was visiting an old high school friend in San Francisco who had been a devout atheist when I knew her in high school. And I was taking a trip east on my bus. So she gave me a book to read that I might like. And it was The Sleeping Prophet by Edgar Casey, not Edgar Casey, by, it was about, well, The Sleeping Prophet obviously is, I wrote, oh, it is Edgar Casey. For some reason, I was saying Edgar Casey and thinking Eckhart Tolle. Okay, I got it right. So it was the story of Edgar Casey. And it was not long before that book, as I was traveling on the bus, began to hold me in amazement. If you're not familiar with the story, Edgar Casey is probably the most renowned psychic in American history. Perhaps he is that, maybe certainly for his century, as he began developing and acknowledging a talent for knowing things about people that were relevant to their healing. And people began coming to Edgar Casey because he just seemed to know what their illnesses were about or their injuries. And in spite of them being strangers, he would go into a rather trance-like state and just pull from some database information about their illnesses or their injuries, something that was rooted long in the past, and he had no acquaintance with these people whatsoever. And as time went by, they discovered that all he needed was a letter or a name of somebody, and that letter, they didn't have to be present. He could do this, and he would get information which they called readings. And there's thousands of case histories. And one of those that was a good example was somebody came to him that had serious lower back pain that was starting to become debilitating. And so Edgar Casey went into his trance and pointed out that it was had to do with an injury from that person's youth when they slid down a banister and slammed into a butt stop, you know, the knob at the end of the banister. And upon mentioning that, the client remembered that event. So this really seemed hard to believe for me. I had no awareness at that time of such psychic phenomena. It was foreign to me. And I wondered, is this fabrications? Could it be a hoax? If it was, it would be a monumental effort for them to create files containing thousands of records of his readings. And then I came to think that, well, no, it can't be fabricated because among his clients were a lot of celebrities, politicians and athletes and actors, because he was here in Southern California. And these were people who would not tolerate fabrications on his part about them. So that made it hard to believe this was all made up. In addition, there were instances when Edgar Casey, in the presence of experts in various language, had occasion to speak in other languages, like for clients that were from other countries. And he would speak languages to which he had no previous exposure. And in fact, in some cases, he would have sore muscles from talking and using muscles in a way that we don't use them speaking English. And so it seemed that Edgar Casey was definitely tapping in to some source of information that was unseen in the earth or in the ethers, it seemed. So which was I going to find credible? That there is something like a sea of information in the atmosphere, or that these thousands of files were the result of painstaking, elaborate ruse generation? And so for me, the easiest thing to believe resulted in it being self-evident that there is a reservoir of information unseen yet available to, in a remarkable way to some people, and apparently available to everyone to some degree. That realization, along with and that conclusion, was my first step back to believing in something. And the next step, it required some time. And that was, as I went to school at Fort Lewis College in Durango, I didn't have anything in the way of a career goal in mind. So I took quite a diversity of subjects. And so in some of those subjects, the ones that I really was fascinated in, I got A's in fundamentals of music, anthropology, personality theory, physics. And I just had a very broad spectrum of studies as I went to Fort Lewis College. And this broad perspective presented to me led to an interesting conclusion. It seemed, as I looked at so many fields of study, that everything seemed to be orderly and organized according to principles. And that was, even in the case, I noticed that there was a lot of research going on 50, 100 years ago, centuries ago, where things were confusing, they were mysterious. How does this work? And it seemed that whenever there was a breakthrough in understanding, that everything that was learned would cause these subjects of inquiry to fall very neatly into what was already known. It was all very logical and ordered. And so everything became assimilated into a view of the universe wherein all was logical order and made sense. So what did that do for me? It became then self-evident to me that if something in my life was beyond my comprehension, it was because the scope of my understanding or viewpoint was not sufficiently broad. Full acceptance of a universe of reason and order led me to believe that if I were able to see things fully and have full comprehension about anything that had puzzled and perplexed me, it would be found to be reasonable and logical. So as a result, I believed in an absolutely logical universe. I suppose the viewpoint I came to share with Spock of Star Trek. One of the experiences I had that really brought that to bear was around that time, my sister began having an issue with cancer, and it led her to her transition. And that was a very difficult experience for me. And I found that this faith that I came to develop just from studying a wide diversity of subjects gave me some peace. Nobody in the family could understand my sister, who was active, and she was a surfer, and no one could understand why this was happening. And everybody was really stressed out and wondering about what's the deal with this? She loves God. She was a devout Baptist. And I sat back. Of course, it was happening to her, but I sat back and I was able to really know a lot of peace from trusting in a logical and reasonable universe where everything makes sense. So what do I have now? I have an unseen reservoir of knowledge, which can be accessed by us, and a universe which is ordered and logical, with all things ultimately making sense. Well, then in 1986, in Durango, some friends of mine invited me to go with them to the Church of Religious Science. And so I was struck by the message that day, the message which mirrored my belief and trust in life and the universe, anchored in the belief in a universe of law and order, logic and reason. And so I found a home. This was very appealing to me, to hear somebody in a church mirroring back to me what I had come to believe from my studies in college. So I started attending. And as I did, over time, there were three key essential developments. Well, the first one came from book learning. And there's one thing about book learning, it's theory. Sometimes you might consider it fancy hearsay. It's not self-evident if it's only theory, if it's not your experience. And the fact that the minds that we share, and which are somehow connected to the reservoir of information within our grasp, and the orderly and logical nature of the universe, if that indicates a creator, a source of all things, a God, well, no, not so. That was not self-evident to me. Book learning can take us a long way. Joel Goldsmith said in The Thunder of Silence, neither written nor spoken truth can bring God into our lives. The written or the spoken word gives us a foundation. And here's an example from Ernest Holmes as he wrote, I'm sure this is in his, what we consider the textbook. He said, it is the nature of infinity to be fully present at every point. Infinity is fully present at every point. And I read that, and this is an example how it's not self-evident to me just because I'm reading it. And I thought, boy, he knows more about infinity than I did, because I never would have thought of that. At least he didn't say it was self-evident. And so, but later on with meditation, I was able to know of the truth of that. In Science of Mind classes, there's the analogy that before anything that was man-made came into existence, it existed in the idea of a man or a woman. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a chair or a wheel or a polio vaccine or Miles Davis's album Kind of Blue. They're all ideas before they come into existence. But then they made another statement, as if it's an analogy. They said, therefore, we should think that there had to be ideas in the mind of a creator in order for us to have the universe created in which we live in. Nope, not for me, still not self-evident. Anybody ever have this conversation that I had when I was young? Why do you believe in God? Well, something must have made the universe. Well, then who made God? Oh, God always was. You mean to say you believe in a God that always was, but you can't believe in a universe that always was? Well, that doesn't work for me. Well, sure, the testimony of myself and Randy and Susan and Reverend Mark and others may be very compelling, but I suggest that no one can possibly fully embrace somebody else's truth. Ernest Holmes said that Science of Mind is his revelation, but that each one of us needs our own. Each needs to utilize spiritual practices so that it may be revealed to each one's self that God is. So this brings us to the second development, meditation. It was not long after I began attending the Durango First Church of Religious Science in 1986, I believe, that I heard of the meditation group meetings at Randy and Susan's on 2 Wednesdays each month. You know, it was a rough go for a while because the meditations they had were very guided and everybody shared their experience, and I felt a little bit lost. I discovered much further down the line as I practiced meditation that was because my dominant or primary experience of meditation is not visual, but feeling. But it was a start. And in time, my meditations became deep enough for me to have a personal experience of divine presence, so that God presence was so clear to me that it was self-evident. Now, the third development, well, I want to make sure I don't leave that point too soon. The point being that the issue with the Baptist church was they did not provide me with the means to have a personal experience of the presence of God. Well, it didn't take long for that to happen when I attended those meditation groups and went to the Church of Religious Science. Now, the third development was a gradual becoming aware of the all-pervading impact of my use of the law of attraction, or cause and effect, you might call it, same thing. I joined the church already believing that, you reap what you sow, what goes around comes around. As you believe, so shall it be, because that's a dynamic familiar to all the societies of men that have ever existed. But despite believing that law, still I could not accept that I was 100% responsible for all conditions and circumstances in my life. I believe that some of my life's affairs were upon me because of things other people did, or because of pre-existing circumstances that I happened to walk into. So I remember thinking very clearly when I was taking that first Science of Mind 1 class, which was 8 months long, that I kind of felt like I 50% believed that I had drawn or attracted all my experiences, all my conditions. And 50%, that's not too bad. It's a lot better than the lady at Spaghettini's here in Seal Beach, where I was dancing to my favorite Southern California bar band. And I got very warm, so I went out onto the patio to cool off out in the cool night air. And it was the patio where people went to smoke. And there was a lady smoking there. And as soon as I was standing nearby, she started telling me all of her woes. Oh, nobody's got it as bad as I do. I have to take care of my mother, and that entails blah, blah, blah. And, my car needs some repair. And, it looks like we're going to have to move, and on and on. And I'm thinking, the saddest story only wins in Queen for a Day. So finally, I just had to say something. I knew she wasn't going to get it, but I just had to say it. I said, well, I have come to feel that, come to understand that of life's experiences, of the conditions and the unwanted conditions, the unwanted circumstances that I might experience in my life, that I have been responsible for attracting those into my experience. Well, sure enough, her response was, well, that's about the dumbest thing I've heard in a long time. So yeah, 50% is not bad. And after that 8-month class, I think I might have been up to 70%. And when we say that we're 100% responsible for all conditions and circumstances in our lives, because of this principle that we all, to some degree, believe in, there are some seeming exceptions. For instance, Ernest Holmes has cautioned people in his writing that the very young, the small children, and those that start to become childlike again in their later years, the very elderly, are open and vulnerable to what is contained in what he terms race consciousness or universal subjectivity. That atmosphere, that sea of knowledge and beliefs that Edgar Cayce was tapping into. We are in it. How often have you, I'm sure you have, like myself, heard parents talking about words coming out of the mouths of their young children for the first time, or antics or behavior and they go like, where did that come from? And it's very likely from this universal subjectivity to which children are very open. And so in that sense, there are those young children and that they're not responsible for conditions and circumstances. But as we get older, we get to an age where we can make the choice to go to a church that teaches principles. A lot of them are very common from one religion to another, and begin to know the truth that sets us free. Because if we are blind to the law of cause and effect, if we are blind to the principles that are taught in churches and we know nothing about them, then it's very likely that we'll go along with currents of thought in this race consciousness, in this mind that in which we have our being. Currents of thought are there, and we can float like a leaf in a stream and go the way of everybody else. But when we take it upon ourselves, when we make the choices to truly learn and implement, that's the key word, not just learn and know as theory, but learn from experience and implement that truth which sets us free. Truths like we are sons and daughters of the Most High. Truths like we are gods. If we were not, Jesus would not have asked us, know ye not that ye are gods? These kinds of truths, which when we embrace them and live from them, it is easy for us to walk against the currents of common thought. And that's what it means to be in the world, but not of it. And so gradually, considering all these things, I came to understand 100% self-evident, the ball's in my cart. As I believe, so shall it be. Therefore, if there's anything that is unwanted in my life, it is up to me. This is what being renewed by the transforming of your mind is about. Change my thought, or in Science of Mind, we very often say, change your thinking, change your life. The ball's always in our court. And that's a good thing, because it means we're able to initiate change. We're the only ones that can. We are not victims, and we are not subject to conditions out there in the world. We may experience them, but we're not subject. Our states, our way of being in the world is not dependent on things going on out in the world. And then more recently, oh my goodness, quantum physics. Oh, don't get me started. What an amazing development. You know, and many of you may have heard this, but with quantum physics, which was what, 100 years ago, maybe a little more, they were doing these experiments. And they could not get consistent results when they were doing experiments with the very building blocks of our physical universe. They were doing experiments to see how much of the time do we get waves and how much of the time do we get particles that splat. So energy or matter is basically the question. Which do we get and what percentage of the time? And the results were not consistent, and they discovered that they were being affected by the expectations of the researchers. So their beliefs of the researchers were affecting the building blocks of our physical universe. No wonder prayer works. No wonder Plato said thoughts are things. So this is very interesting, that matter and energy is interchangeable. And in fact, we can say what appears to be matter is just organized energy. And if it's organized in one way, ends up as a tumor or some other disease or conditions in my life, we can rearrange that energy and make it different. It's subject to our minds, our beliefs, our convictions. Now, coupled with a mind-cell connection that was amazingly elaborated upon by Greg Braden in his documentary, The Science of Miracles. I think it was the Army that did this research. It's rather recent, not that long ago. They removed some DNA from a subject, a man, and then they put him in another room. And they undertook to have him fluctuate back and forth between positive and negative states of mind, like love and joy, gratitude, and so on. And then swing back to, introduce some ideas, have him recall some things when he was angry, frustrated, resentful, negative states. And as he did this, his DNA in the other room, simultaneously, it seemed, as soon as he changed states to negativity, his DNA strands, the spirals, would tighten. And that's a condition of the DNA which had already been previously associated with decreased or impaired immune system. But when he fluctuated back to love, positive emotions, joy, it loosened up. And that enhances the immune system. So that was amazing. However, they thought, well, there seems to be no lapse in time. It seems to be a here and now thing. Well, surprise, surprise. This is happening in the realm of spirit where there is no time and space. Well, to confirm that, they took this man 400 miles away and did the same experiment. And what happened? The same thing. At the moment that he went from negative state to emotional state, the impact, the effect was immediately recorded in his DNA. So it's no longer a case of what you put out comes back to you. It's no longer that. It's actually like instant karma. It's a here and now thing. And I like to sum up all of that by saying, what I do to or for another person, I do to or for myself at the same time. And if I want to embrace wellness, if I want to have a healthier experience, I cannot afford prolonged periods in negative states. The less, the better. Negative states are contrary to well-being, physical well-being and health. It's really amazing. Self-evident again, once again. And the older we get, as we accumulate the ravages of the wrong use of mind, it's necessary to look into the renewing of my mind, transformation, lose the negative states, cannot afford them anymore if I want to be as well as I possibly can be. And so now, the time is flying by. Okay, let's bounce back to that original statement, which I consider to be self-evident. And that is, the universe has but one divine will, and that is to show up fully being itself, that divine presence, that God, source and creator, showing up to be fully be itself at every point in the universe. Now, it's going to be too much time invested on elaborating why that is self-evident to me. That's a topic for another time, and it will probably come up because I like talking about that. But very briefly, it's because of how I see God showing up in my universe where it has been untouched by man. The extraordinary ecological systems, the diversity and beauty of bird songs, and the color of tropical fish and flowers. God is showing up as beauty, magnificence, sunsets. So it is clear, that is why I say it is self-evident that God, right here and now where I am, wishes to fully express himself. God's been doing that a long time before mankind came along, and it was working out very well. It is only where I am and where you are that there is a restriction to that flow of God being itself. And it is up to us to remove those inner obstacles and get on board with being the divine. I know that that's my task these days and for a long time to come. And I invite everyone to know with me that that is an endeavor that needs to be undertaken. In the meantime, I want to wish you all joy and peace in believing and also remembering truly who you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Yeah, I guess, one of the things that has been freeing for me is to realize that, God's presence and God's will and all that stuff was not dependent upon my awareness of it, okay? Is that these things that became self-evident to me, what may have been self-evident to everybody else before I realized it, did not diminish the truth that was there. The truth is there, whether I'm aware of it or not, just like, gravity is not dependent on my ability to recognize it. It's going to be there, just like, and all spiritual laws are like that, whether I realize it or not. When I raised to the a place of awareness, my life is improved, my consciousness is expanded, totally separate from the truth that other people have been experiencing perhaps for a long time. You agree with that?
Oh, yes. I mean, there is an infinite path and we're all sprinkled all along it. Some people are ahead of us, some behind. And by the way, this is not something that's only true of spiritual laws. I mean, the principles were there for electricity way before
Physical law, sure.
So all the laws, it's true that we continue to make higher uses of them as we understand them better. Yes, it's great.
Yeah. And I'm in another spiritual movement that tells me that being aware of all this stuff and dealing with all this stuff in my life, that I am actually in spiritual kindergarten, that, that there is much more that will unfold as I seek more spiritual enlightenment.
Oh my God, you said something, I don't know if I should mention this. I think of the people that I left in the Baptist church as being in spiritual kindergarten. I'm more like in high school compared to them. But that I hesitate to say that because it's a judgment, but I also say it from the experience of like knowing how far I've come, relative to where I would have been and where some of them still are in their relationship. Now, my mother has got a wonderful relationship with God, but she's been in the church for 93 years. So it took her, so.
Yeah. But for me, it's exciting to know that there is much more to be revealed. I need to be present and accepting and receptive to it is that concept that I get, that there's just so much more to become an experience in the universe.
Well, yeah, because we're talking about infinite being.
Yeah.
We're only glimpsing, we're just a little bit touching upon the infinity of our own being. And so, this is going to be, we're going to be involved in this for what, ever?
For a long time and ever. Okay, I'm gonna open it up for anybody have anything that they would like to ask Travis or share with him.
Yeah, Travis, I love you so much. Thank you for sharing all of that. And thank you for being open so that keep growing. And in my own life with the type of work that I do, I find I learn something new almost every day. And it's always so amazing. I'm going, why didn't I know that before? And it was just so lovely to hear you say all the things that you did. Thank you. Thank you for having been in my life for the last 30 years.
Well, it's been great to share this journey with you, not only the spiritual journey, but all the things you taught me at your clinic about how to care for myself. It's done wonders, I mean, for me. So yes, thank you very much.
That's good.
And growing, I was thinking of the Moody, when I was putting this together, I was thinking of the Moody Blues line that I understand that we're going to keep growing, wait and see.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
and Moody Blues have a lot of wonderful lyrics that fit right in with this this material.
Yeah. So you think that Edgar Casey traveled to Southern California because he was from Virginia, you know? That's where the thing is.
You know, and I might be wrong about him. It's been like, well, like what I say, it was like late 78, 79 when I read that book. I may have been wrong about him being in California.
Now,
I know that they have that research center there where for years and years they tried to figure out why the things he recommended worked. And it resulted in a lot of discovery. But and it might be that those celebrities easily made their way to where he was. He didn't need to be in Southern California. So
right? No, he lived most of his life in Virginia. I don't think he traveled a long ways, but his spirit and the things that he did and the effect that he had on the world traveled all over the world.
mhm.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to tell Travis? We appreciate you coming and sharing with us, Travis. We appreciate it, and your message is always of something of value that we can use to make our lives better on a daily basis, and that's my gauge of whether it's good, because my spirituality is always practical. If it's out there somewhere and I can't use it today to make me feel better or someone else to feel better, it's probably my ego and not really spiritual. But your stuff coming to us is always good and it's usable. And yeah, I appreciate that.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, I appreciate these opportunities. I'm wanting to do much more of this sort of thing, and this opportunity is allowing me to hone my craft, so to speak. So this is a value to me to be with you in this way.
Yeah. This didn't happen accidentally. It was one of the reasons that we decided that this would be a good forum. It would give an opportunity for people who are not normally have a great amount of experience speaking to have a forum where they can speak, because that's you know, and be able to share their ideas in a non-threatening atmosphere. You know, I mean, to speak to people sometimes can be frightening for some people. You got to get over that to be able to be effective. And so we decided that to have this and it would serve multitudes of purposes, but one of them would be to allow people who are normally to hone their craft, if you would, to be able to have more experience speaking, and it would give them more confidence, and they would just get better and better at it. Because mostly these things that we talk about are skills, you know, at least the ability to stand before people and to talk to them are skills that have to be developed.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's great. All right. Well, we thank you very much, and we hope that you'll come back soon. I think you're on about a 5 or 6 week, maybe longer rotation. We try to give everyone an opportunity to speak. We may have a new one that interjects every now and then. Some people don't want to speak that often, but we appreciate you coming back on a regular basis and hope you will continue.
Well, I might be able to come up with something in 5 or 6 weeks. I looked at this morning and I thought, man, am I saying so much that I don't have anything left to say next time?
No, now it's going to make you reach. It's going to make you extend your comfort zone, isn't it? Yeah. And to be able to reach out there and start for something new. That's great. This is a win-win situation for everyone.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, thank you, Travis, and we appreciate you. Okay.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. All right. At this time, we are going to pass the basket. And if you would, Steve, here here in the sanctuary and our celebration of abundance. So if you would hold over your hand or whatever and say with me, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive through infinity. I am prosperous. All right, that's great. So, Margaret and Steve, can you grab this? It'll make your voice more confident.
Maybe.
It will.
I know, but I'm trying to grab it.
There you go. Got enough, you have enough?
No, but I'll just make do. Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Okay, Steve, this is the intro right
Okay,
there.
good.
Which number? Okay.
It's
332.
In the binder, Sing of Colors.
See, oh, I didn't know if that was a typo or not. It's Sing of Colors. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So.
Back over to you.
King of colors that over the hills in profession are springing. Sing of colors of the birds that fly outside my window, their canticle singing. Sing of colors in the rainbow's bright colors, God's promises of hope recall, of colors that make up the earth and give thanks to the God who created us all. Of colors that make up the earth and give thanks to the God who created us all. Sing, rejoicing, every creature that breathes, raise a song to the God of creation. Sing, rejoicing, sing God's word declares who the fear of vision. Sing the good news, sing the love of the Savior, reflecting the colors of all. Many colors that shine from God's face, many colors that tell us God's love to recall. Many colors that shine from God's face, many colors that tell us God's love to recall. Sing of spirit, song of fellowship, learning, remembering, flowing in spirit. Sing of spirit, sing of laughter, rejoicing and playing and thriving in spirit. Sing of spirit, of the joy and delight as we clasp hands in true fellowship, of spirit uniting each one in our fellowship as we develop our gifts. Sing of fellowship music, creating and giving fellowship of spirit.
Is it too fast?
I apologize
This is the
for the
very
very
first time I've
awkward
ever
way
sung
that I'm presenting the songs for everyone.
We've sung that
Trying
several
to
times.
improve on
here.
that next week as I get these things and I can put them in the share screen
Sorry.
and post it up there. That's what we're working towards. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Margaret, for the beautiful music that you bring forward to enhance and adorn our service. We appreciate it. All right. At this time, is there any announcements that we need to make?
Board meeting is next weekend?
Next weekend is the
Next weekend
13th.
is, board meeting, if we wanna have one, but I don't really think there's anything we need to discuss, so I'm advocating we don't have one.
We're gonna have one. We have stuff to talk about. We are gonna have next week, next Sunday. Well,
Has to be next Sunday, we'll skip one, because the following weekend is scholarship.
that's true. And I have personal stuff coming up next weekend. I have some cousins that called me the other day and said they're coming to visit me next Sunday from Oklahoma and from Albuquerque. And so I told them, well, don't come in the morning because I'll have church. So they're gonna be here around noon. So I guess maybe a board meeting won't work for me next week either. So we'll just put that off until later. How's that? Okay?
The social program on the 21st, I'm thinking that we have to start from 4 to 8. So I'm kind of thinking that a meet and greet at 4:45 would be a good time, because we need to set up, get things ready, we're there at 4. And for Fred to test the, see how things work, make sure there's program and stuff like that, so what do you think? You want to meet at 4, or do you want to meet at 5?
I think that we open at 4 and people are gonna get there whenever they can get there. And so,
Don't be late for eating if they think it's at 5, so it's at 4.
well, anyway, I don't know if you could hear Jerry, she's pretty far away from the mic. But on June 21st, which is a Monday, we're going to have a solstice celebration like we have had for many years. We will have it at the Kiwanis Park on 30th Street. It is a potluck, and so everyone needs to bring their favorite dish. We will provide the drinks and the ice and plates and the setups, okay? We will also provide entertainment. We have contracted with our brothers Fred Brown to come and play music for us. Not his whole band as we've had in the past, but Fred is going to come and just sing for us and for an hour. We're gonna the park is open at 4. We expect to probably eat sometime between 5 and 5:30. We would encourage you to be there as close as you can to 5. How's that? So, and we will not be cooking. In the past, we have cooked hamburgers and hot dogs. This time, we're not going to do that. We're just everyone is gonna bring your favorite dish, your potluck, and it'll still turn out, it'll still be a wonderful meal. I've never been to a potluck that I didn't thoroughly enjoy. So, okay. Okay, Travis is indicating, do you need to leave?
Are you still recording?
Oh, I am. Yes, I need to turn that off. No, I am still recording. Yes, it's okay.
Oh, okay, because I see a friend of mine from here has showed up, Ann Lisi, and she apparently didn't catch that it was 10 o'clock in Farmington and we've already done the service.
Uh-oh. Well, okay, Ann, we welcome you. We're glad that you are here. We post this, all of our meetings on YouTube. And I'll be posting that this afternoon. I will send a copy of that to Travis immediately this afternoon sometime. And if you could then send that to your friend, then she could still see the presentation.
Oh, I'm circulating it widely. There's so many people that aren't interested in it, but that's the way it goes. But yeah, a lot of people, I'll send it to a bunch of interested parties and others too.
Okay, great.
Thank you for that.
All right. And yeah, she just came back on. We're glad that you found us, Ann. I don't know if she would want to speak. She's, there you go.
No, I just tuned in to see what was going on.
Oh, we're about to close up shop, Ann.
Okay.
Yeah, we thank you. Yeah, we're an hour ahead of you, so it was, we start at 10 o'clock on Central, on Mountains time, and you guys are on Pacific, so you're,
And I'm going to go now because our service is starting to it's getting well into our service here just next door. So
okay.
I'm going to go do that. And I look forward to seeing you again.
Okay, well, thank you. We'll see you soon. All right. So a little benediction for us to carry through the week. We normally ask Mike to do the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. He's not here. So if no one objects, I will give us a benediction and we will close the service. Father, Mother God, we thank you for this day, this beautiful day that you have given us to come together to grow in your wisdom and your energy as we travel this life together as a fellowship. Thank you for allowing us and causing us to come together to meet in this lifetime, and ask that you would protect us and keep us safe as we travel the roads of life, all of our various ways this coming week until we meet again next Sunday. We ask that you would touch the leaders of our nation in political and business and religious, all aspects of our society, and imbue them with wisdom and compassion, and that they could guide us and lead us in a good way to a good destination. So we ask that these things in the name of the Christ Energy. Amen. Okay, so now